Daytona will forever be proudly engraved on the battle honor roll of the 1st Canadian Division. Its fall is the opening chapter in the great story of Canadian Army activity during the action-filled year 1944. This rough milestone on the road through Italy will always be remembered. January, a month of many changes, sees first the move to the United Kingdom of the 8th Army Commander, General Montgomery. His successor, General Sir Oliver Leese, is welcomed by the Canadian staff in Italy. Major Paul Triquet of the Royal 22nd Regiment is awarded the Victoria Cross. While back in the United Kingdom, General Eisenhower is named Supreme Commander, Allied Expeditionary Force in the Western Theater. At a conference, he outlines future operations. General Andrew McNaughton bids farewell to his command, the 1st Canadian Army. The beloved general, who brought the first contingent of Canadians overseas, returns to Canada. As plans for the attack from the west shape up, General Quirard is brought from Italy to take command of the 1st Canadian Army. In April, Prime Minister Mackenzie King arrives to attend the historic conference of Dominion Premiers. He inspects Canadian units throughout the United Kingdom. The royal family review Canadian paratroops on the eve of invasion. Princess Elizabeth makes her first public appearance since coming of age in an inspection of the invasion spearhead. In May, another exercise gets underway. It is a full-dress rehearsal of the forthcoming invasion from the west. For 4 long years, Canadian troops have been training for a crack at the enemy. Now they are reaching the final stages of perfection. Practice makes perfect in the grim game of war. Heartbreaking weeks of toil and sweat familiarize every man with his job. There will be no mistakes. General Eisenhower addresses the 2nd Canadian Corps. The King inspects the 3rd Canadian Division. Meanwhile, history is being made on the Italian front. The 1st Canadian Corps win their spurs at the breach of the Hitler line. The maze of fortifications was calculated to stop the 8th Army before Rome. It is shattered by Canadian armor and infantry. Back in England, troops are briefed for the long-awaited second front. Time and time again, equipment has been loaded aboard the great carriers. Time and time again, the men have rehearsed their every move for the attack. This time, it is the real thing. This time, it is the 6th of June, D-Day. Coincident with the successful landings in Normandy, Rome falls to Allied arms. Smashing out of the Anzio beachhead and through the Hitler line, our troops liberate their first European capital. In Normandy, the drive inland gets underway from well-established bridgeheads. When Kluge groups for a determined stand of the sector of Caen. To elements of the 1st Canadian Army goes the job of cleaning out a key strong point on the Caen perimeter, Carpiquet. One of the bloodiest of this war's battles rages across the airfield. With Carpiquet in Canadian hands, the the left of the line smashes the steel ring around Caen. The greatest concentration of armor of all time is crushed by 2nd British Army and the 1st Canadian Army. Caen is flattened to the ground. In July, His Majesty the King pays a visit to Canadian troops in both France and Italy. In Italy, he presents the Victoria Cross to Major Mahoney of Vancouver for bravery at the Melka River. In July also, the German 7th Army meets its fate in the Falaise pocket. Breaking out from Caen down the Falaise highway, Canadian troops complete the encirclement of the doomed army. Air Force bombs and artillery shells pound it to pieces. Canadian reinforcements pour in by way of the great prefabricated harbor, sectionally constructed in England and erected under trying conditions at Avranches. At Falaise, another Canadian officer wins the VC, Major David Curry of the South Alberta Regiment. August brings the drive to the Seine and the cleanup of Channel Port. In the dogged pursuit of the fleeing Germans, town after town is liberated. Many are reduced to ruins by the relentless battle. The cathedral town of Rouen welcomes Canadian liberators. The veteran Canadian 2nd Division returns in triumph to the scene of its earlier fiery trial, Dieppe. Up the Channel coast, flying bomb sites are overrun. From their runways, a reign of terror has been unleashed against London. The flying bomb is conquered, its layers crushed into the dust. Bruges falls to our ever-advancing column. Crowds go wild at the realization of liberation from hated oppressors. An all-out attack is mounted on Boulogne. A terrific concentration of artillery, backed up by Air Force of Bomber Command, forces the beleaguered garrison to surrender. Another claim of invincibility is exploded as Canadians in Italy force their way through the Gothic line. Kesselring's last prepared line in northern Italy meets the same fate as other fortresses in the south. On the Western Front, the Belgian border is crossed and the 1st Canadian Army surges into Holland. The great Belgian port of Antwerp is captured intact. To free the approaches to Antwerp, Canadians launch attacks on enemy-held territory on both banks of the Scheldt estuary. Beveland is attacked, and a backdoor landing is made on the German pocket around Brescia. From positions across the Scheldt, Beveland is shelled by our guns. Assault landings are made on the island of Walcheren, the last Nazi strong point menacing Antwerp approaches. Walcheren is cleaned out, and Antwerp becomes a main base of supply. Smoky Smith of the Canadian Sea Force is decorated for conspicuous bravery in Italy. Canada's first private soldier to win the Victoria Cross in this war. Through him, a bridgehead was held over the Savio River. The little town of Beek, Germany, sees the climax of 6 months of bitter fighting. Canadian armor moves across the Belgian border into Germany. Through mud, blood, fire, and hell. In Italy and the West, Canadians have written a glorious page of history in 1944. A new year of opportunity now dawns. In it, may we find victory and happiness under the banner of freedom.